Hello, 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 people.
Barb's gonna do a machine demo today for you guys. Or technique demo.
Yeah, technique and machine.
Technique and machine on one of the brothers that came in that we've had frequently through the years. We've just been out of stock for most of the last 6 months. And now
I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize that we have or don't realize that they need.
Or that it even exists.
Yeah.
They just don't know about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave you in Barb's capable hands for a quilting adventure.
A quilting adventure.
A quilting adventure.
Yes. Okay, welcome to another Technique Tuesday. So, as I was getting ready to head into work this morning, I went, I wonder if I'm supposed to do Facebook, and if I am, is there anything I can find at work that I can talk about that's going to be a little bit quirky and a little bit interesting, because that's how I roll. So, we're going to pop this down because I think it makes it easier to hear if you can see people talking. So yes, I have a little bit of machine envy. I have to admit it's only a little bit of machine envy because I already have a similar type of machine at home. This is, and I know you can't see it on the screen too well yet, it's the Brother PQ 1500 SL. And it is basically a straight stitch machine. It does one thing, kind of like my long arms. It just does it really fast. So it's a wonderful piecing machine, and it's a great free motion machine as well. It's there's no zigzag, there's no fancy stitches on it. It sews beautiful even stitches very quickly. Reasonable price, under $1,000 right now, and it's something that you can have set up on one table in your sewing machine, so you can be working on your free motion quilting, on your piecing, while your embroidery machine is over on the other side of your sewing room working on the embroidery. So it's definitely not limiting, but because so much of what we do in quilting is just so straight lines, it's an awesome addition to your sewing room. Anyway, a very little to explain about it, so we don't even need to go into some of the features. It's very much like an old-fashioned sewing machine. It has a reverse, it has a thread cutter, it has a needle up, needle down default, bobbin mounts here on the end, and it has a 4-position feed dog drop. So it'll have the feed dogs up for straight sewing, and then you can gradually lower them depending on what you're working on, until I currently have it set from my Dream Big class on totally free motion, so no feed dogs at all. And that's about it. It's a really nice machine to work on. So I thought, well, let's do something for Facebook where we get to play a little bit about with free motion, and we can work on this machine because hey, it's already here. So I have one petal left. I'm going to talk about, do you remember, several months ago we did corded quilting, where we sewed a channel and then we stuffed a cord through it and made that nice little raised design on our quilt sandwich? Well, we're going to do its cousin today, and it's called Trapunto, from the Italian to quilt. So Trapunto is a really easy way of getting a little bit more puffiness to certain areas of your quilting. And I'm not going to make a whole lot of puffiness. The more puff you have, the little bit harder it is to quilt around. So I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to have certain areas of a quilt sandwich stand out without having to do the slit the backing and stuff it in and get it uneven. So what I have here in my hand is one last petal of a fusible quilt batting. This happens to be a polyester. It's not really thick to start with. Got a little bit of fusible on the back. So what I did is I cut out 6. I used 5 petals for a flower, and I cut out 2 leaves. Let me see if I can show you. Peel this off here. Just like that. And I set those sticky side up on my ironing board, And then I laid my quilt top fabric down on top of them and gave them a press. So now they are stuck to the back side of the front of my quilt. Then I layered that with some regular batting. I'm going to redo this. We're going to see if we can get it this way. Like so. There we go. I layered that with some regular batting and a quilt backing. Smooth that out nicely. Pull this up on top. I'm not sure if you can see, but what I did, I could tell by feeling where the edges of those petals are. So I took my wash away marker, my water erasable marker, and just drew a faint line around those images. So the fun thing about quilting is it's almost in reverse. Wherever we stitch, flattens down. So wherever we don't stitch is going to be puffier. So now I'm going to use my straight stitch machine, pop up on my chair because, that feels so much better. And I'm going to go right to the center. And I've got a nice contrasting yellow thread. I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread. There we go. Lower this presser foot. And I'm going to start by outlining these petals. So you can already tell I was thinking of spring when I designed this thing because I was going, I have to do a flower in a nice sunny yellow. So you can already tell how the petals have a certain amount of puffiness compared to the parts in between. I think I'm going to just do a little center. And I have some leaves down here, so I'm going to need a stem. Now this is a leaf, so I'm going to stitch a vein down the center of my leaf. And that's really going to show how puffy that leaf is. So I could leave my little panel just the way it is, but I really want those petals to stand out. I want them to be the focus. So I think what I'm going to do is put a little bit of marking in the center, a little bit of lines. The more stitch in like this, fatter the rest of the petal is going to look. There. Now if I really want my trapunto areas to stand out around the rest of it, I am going to quilt around that flower in the background with the same color thread. And that is just going to flatten down that area even more and make these become really, really obvious. So here we go. This is the fun part. Come out here and I'm just going to use meander, I think. Pretend it's a bumblebee visiting the flowers. So one thing you're going to notice if you're working on a straight stitch machine is the stitch quality. And that's largely because a lot of your regular machines that also do fancy decorative stitching, that machine thinks a straight stitch is basically a zero width zigzag. So if you look closely at the straight stitch on your machine, you may notice that it kind of goes with a little angle to it. Whereas this is just like grandma's old-fashioned sewing machine, a nice straight stitch. Uh-oh. I think I just ran out of bobbin thread. That's because I was quilting this morning with it. So I wonder if that means I'm finished for the day. The machine does have a bobbin winder built into it here, but we won't bore you by winding the bobbin. So pop that out. Yes, ma'am. That's what happened. So a nice metal bobbin on this guy. And you can see the bobbin comes out from the side here. And it's a standard bobbin case like that. And when you're threading the needle, because it's a straight stitch machine, we're used to threading from the front back. You could actually work this machine perpendicular to how it's sitting right now. So your needle threads in from the side. So it helps to be older sometimes. There we go. What do we wind that with? So let's have a look at what we've accomplished. I'm going to pull it over here because I think the visibility is good. Right about there. So you can see, and I can certainly feel, how that extra layer of batting under the petals of the flower has just made them puff right up. And then by stitching around them and flattening down the rest of the quilt, they puff up even more. There we go. That's a really good view of what we've accomplished so far. So you could work a small panel like this and then turn that into a pillow front. I think it would be a wonderful thing to combine with maybe the corded quilting that we did earlier. I really like how that feels. Really like how that feels. Those leaves are nice and puffy. So I would fill the rest of this area with some meander. And that's looking really good there. So you can see the stitch quality on this guy. He's a lovely little flower there. Just make us think of spring. All right. So that is a very, very basic demonstration on trapunto. Trapunto basically just means that you have sections of your quilt that are extra puffy, that you have made thicker in some way. Now I used a fusible batting and put that on the back side first so I could just feel the edges. The other way you can do that is to actually work your design on the top surface. Draw an image on the top of your quilt sandwich, then put a layer of any kind of batting you like underneath that. Quilt on the lines, just as we did here. And then you would turn that over. You would quilt with just your top and your batting. No backing fabric on it yet. And stitch on that line, flip it over, and trim away the excess batting. Then you would put another layer of batting underneath your quilt backing, and you would get a very similar result to this, where you've got double batting just in certain areas of your quilt. So, who wants to try it? I'm going to put this all on your bucket list of things to do. I think it's kind of fun. And I always like to learn new techniques and figure them out, because you never know when you're working on a project down the road whether something is just going to spark in your head and you're going to go, hey, I remember that. And that will go perfectly here. So that's about all I have for today for our Trapunto demo. So thank you for joining us. Remember, stay calm, stay safe. We've come this far. Stay kind. Take it easy. Enjoy yourself. And happy quilting, everybody. We'll see you next week for another, hopefully, Technique Tuesday. Not sure what's coming up tomorrow, but tune in and see what other goodies we have for you. Thanks, everyone. Night.